right, well now joining me on WION Newsroom is Aditya Juneja, who will give us all the details and insights in the world of business. Nikita Singh will be giving us the buzz from the tech world, and Atira Sasidharan, who will get us all the updates from the world of sports. And we begin by going over to Adya for the market updates. Over to you, Adya.
Well, thank you, Jyotsna. Global markets are closing out a volatile November with pockets of relief across Asia and turmoil across commodities. Asian markets ended a rough November on steadier footing as renewed hopes of an imminent US rate cut lifted sentiment. Index was majorly flat on Friday but still headed for a 3% weekly gain, its first in 4 weeks. Well, Japan's Nikkei also held firm, up 3.2% on the week despite a 4.3% monthly drop. Now, globally, November was unusually choppy. Now, tech valuations were rattled. The US shutdown dragged a record 43 days and Bitcoin slid 17%. Still, markets stabilized as Fed officials Waller and Williams backed a December cut. India remained the outlier, touching fresh record highs. But even as equities steadied, commodity traders faced a very different November. Oil prices held flat but are poised for a fourth straight month of the losses, now the longest streak since mid-2023. Brent sat near $63 a barrel, hit by fears of a global glut. This comes as OPEC restarts capacity and non-OPEC drillers ramp up the supplies. JP Morgan estimates the market faces a surplus of 2.8 million barrels per day next year. This weekend's OPEC meeting is likely to keep output increases on pause for early 2026, while a broader capacity review is on the table. Meanwhile, in the currency markets, the dollar slump continues. The US dollar is on track for its worst weekly performance since the month of July. Traders are ramping up bets on a December Fed cut, now priced at 87% probability. The dollar index slipped while 10-year US yields hovered near 4% after a 5-day slide. Commodity currencies were mixed, with the Aussie supported by firmer credit growth and the Kiwi cooling after its biggest weekly surge since April. And finally, a major trade shift is brewing in North America. Canada is preparing a major diversification drive as Prime Minister Mark Carney warns that the country's deep dependence on the US has become a vulnerability. Carney and Alberta signed an MOU to revive a long-debated pipeline to the Pacific aimed at doubling Canada's non-US oil exports within a decade. Now, the project could eventually move over 1 million barrels per day to Asian markets, reducing exposure to US tariffs that Carney says have chilled investment. Carney says the agreement creates necessary conditions for progress, but stresses that without a private sector proponent, there won't be a pipeline. Well, that's a wrap from the world of business. Now, for all the tech updates, it's over to you, Nikita.
Well, thanks so much, Adya. First up, Missouri has joined a growing list of states in the US that have age verification laws for digital platforms serving up content considered inappropriate for minors. Now, the law comes into effect on November 30th that will require users to prove they are above 18 years of age before accessing websites with adult-only material. Now, the state becomes the latest in the US to enact such rules amid growing debate over privacy and security risks linked to the digital age checks. Now, under the new law, any website or app where more than 1/3 of content is classified as harmful to minors must implement strict age verification before allowing access. The move is also expected to drive more users towards VPN services. Next up, South Korea suspects a North Korean hacking group may be behind a major cyber attack on the cryptocurrency exchange Upbit, now which resulted in the unauthorized withdrawal of digital assets worth around $30.4 million. According to Yonhap news agency, South Korean authorities are inspecting Upbit systems and believe that hackers who call themselves the Lazarus Group are responsible. The group has been linked to North Korea's spy agency, may have been involved in what the exchange called an abnormal withdrawal. South Korea has launched a cyber crimes investigation so far. EU member states and the European Parliament have agreed on new rules to force banks and payment service providers to better protect customers from online fraud, hidden fees and data leaks. The Parliament said that the rules would make providers liable for covering customer losses if they fail to implement effective fraud prevention. Now, they will also be required to freeze suspicious transactions Online platforms that fail to remove fraudulent adverts will be liable for the costs that banks incur when reimbursing customers. The rules must still be formally adopted by the Parliament and Member States before coming into force. Well, that's it from the world of tech. Now my colleague Atra would be taking you through some sports updates across the globe. Over to you, Atra.
Thank you so much, Nikita. Now let's look at the top sports stories we're tracking for you at this hour. We'll begin with cricket first. The Indian women's team are set to return to the field since their triumph at the ODI World Cup. The women in blue will host Sri Lanka for a 5-match T20I series beginning on December 21st. The first 2 games will be played in Vishakhapatnam and the last 3 in Thiruvananthapuram. The T20Is will be played just before WPL and act as a preparations for the T20 World Cup next year. The women in blue were supposed to play 3 ODIs and as many T20Is against Bangladesh in December earlier. However, the series has been postponed amid escalating tensions between both the countries. Now staying with cricket, skipper Pat Cummins was not named in Australia's squad for the second Ashes test. The day-night test against England in Brisbane will begin on December 4th. The selectors have retained the 14 players who were on duty in Perth. Injured pacer Josh Hazlewood will also miss the test at Gabba. Australia defeated England by 8 wickets in the first test in Perth in under 2 days. England will need to avoid the defeat in Brisbane to keep hopes of winning the Ashes for the first time since 2015 alive. But remember, Australia has not lost a test at Gabba since 1986. Over in football now, Nottingham Forest breathed past Malmo in the Europa League to strengthen their grip on the playoff place. Forest were dominant from the start and won the match 3-0. The match was a repeat of the 1979 European Cup when Forest beat the 24-time Swedish champions. Forest are now on a 5-match unbeaten run. The win moves them into the 16th in the table. They are now 2 points off the top 8 automatic qualification for the last 16 with 3 games left. Well, with that, we have come to the end of the sports segment. It's back to you, Jyotsna.
Oh, thank you so much, Atra and Nikita and Adya, for bringing us all the updates from sports, tech and business. Well, with that, we call a wrap to this bulletin, but don't go anywhere. News and updates will be following on the other side of this very short break. Keep watching WION World is One.